Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Reset with Raven podcast, the podcast where we get real about how to rise up after disappointment, discouragement, and feelings of defeat. I am your host, Raven M. Harris, the founder of Activate the Dream, and I am grateful that you are here and listening. Now, let's get into a great conversation in this episode of our limited series of Let the Men Talk. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you stop what you're doing and subscribe to this limited series of Reset with Raven called Let the Men Talk. Today, I am joined by writer, poet, certified health and life coach, Mr. Henry Gaskins. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello, hello, hello. It is absolutely a pleasure to be here. And I must say, as ravens go, I think you are probably the most delightful one I've had the privilege of ever seeing fly. And I hope you fly high.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I want to jump into what we were just talking about right before we hit record. This is so good. It's not even planned, but I think it's so timely to conversations and just how people are feeling around the world. Every time I hit the record, before I hit the record button, I ask my guests, hey, how are you feeling? How's your day going? And Henry started with telling me that, he's pushing through, and I have a similar experience of where I'm pushing through after just a lot of exhaustion with travel, my day job, all those type of things. But I'd love to start this conversation off with you talking about like how you're feeling right now, and then what you're doing or actively doing to, I guess, fill your cup back up.
Well, that's amazing that you mentioned that, because my day starts at 4 o'clock every morning. Now, this past weekend, I actually had to take a whirlwind trip. I had a talk to give up in New York City, which is my hometown, but not the part where I grew up. Actually, it was in the Harlem area, and I had to fly right back out the next day and fly back here, and then try to have a quick meeting with someone on Monday, and then Tuesday had another meeting going on. So I spent one thing after another. Then I'm back up at 4 o'clock in the morning today, and I came in. So I haven't had the time to really de-stress and decompress, as it were. You see what I'm saying? But here's one of the things I tried to do. I had about half an hour before we got together, and what I did real quick is I took a quick meditation reset. You see what I'm saying? I sat back, I closed my eyes, I sat in the chair, I did this quick stretching of the body, deep inhaling, focus, hold the breath, and exhale slowly. And after a while, I drifted off to sleep, and a good thing the phone rang, or else I'd have been late for this appointment. But I made it, and I'm so happy that I did. So here I am, a bit more energized than I probably would have been had it been an hour ago.
That's good. I'm so glad you are here and that you were able to take that reset that you needed. And I'm having similar. Like last week was very busy for me. I had to have an outpatient procedure, and I live in Southwest Georgia, so I drive like 3 hours to the hospital. So I'd have a procedure and then turn around and drive back. And then for my, I guess what we call it, day job, I had to fly to a hospital. I work in healthcare. So I had to fly to one of my hospital contracts, and I was there for 3 or 4 days. I was in the hospitals, in the ED. I was up on the floor, that type of thing. And then turn around and flew back, and then drove back from the airport, which is about 3 hours, yesterday. And then I had to get up this morning and catch up on emails, do some housework, that type of thing, and just kind of resettle myself. And I've been feeling like that and I literally right before this interview, I was thinking like, okay, I really need my own reset. I need to break. And I feel like the exhaustion coming on just in terms of like my thought process and being able to settle my thoughts. And I told myself, okay, you know what? As soon as this is over, I'm going to take some time just to relax my mind. I like to meditate. I'm going to watch something that's entertaining to me, because that gives me laughter and gives me some joy. And then also too, I already started looking at my schedule for this upcoming weekend. Thankfully, it's a holiday weekend as we're recording. But looking at my schedule and thinking about what day am I going to block off just to give
Mhm.
myself a just to give myself a break. So I just think it's so important for us to have those resets. And thank you for sharing to us what any of us can incorporate as a quick reset when we're feeling like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, which really stood out to me, is when we first connected, you said, I'm on a mission to be a guest on over 100 podcasts this year. Tell us why. What do you want to ensure, or what do you feel called, led, moved to make sure that people hear from you?
Well, the main thing is this. You see, first of all, I'm a certified health and life coach, number one. And as such, I want to help individuals to lower their glucose, lose weight, build muscle, and thereby build confidence in doing so, as well as to create their own path in life. I follow something called the CRUSH method. It's my own development. Actually, I even have a podcast, a weekly podcast by the same name, Crush Your Mountain. And the idea is that the more I can share with individuals the opportunity to get themselves healthy and to create the life that they want, the more I can make a change for the better. This world is not going to last long, but while it's here, why not make the best of
That's good. That's good. What mountain did you crush, and why do you
it?
feel so motivated to make sure
Wow.
others crush theirs?
Well, it's amazing. As Black individuals, we have a unique relationship with health and healthcare. And I had my own journey in a number of different ways. First of all, I had two parents, both of them disabled. One of them with dementia that started out as schizophrenia. We're finding out now, in these days, that what they see as dementia is actually type 3 diabetes, insulin resistance, if you know, you see. So I was diagnosed later on with being pre-diabetic. Now, the doctor said, well, don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do. We can just give you some insulin. It runs in the family. You'll be all right, you know? And having learned what I learned, I said, no way, I'm not going to do that, okay? So many of us, either we're terrified of doctors because of the negative experiences the culture as a whole has had. So, i.e. Tuskegee incident, right? And things of that nature. But many of us also just take the doctor as our boss. We go there, he says, you take this medicine. And they say, okay. And you go again, they say, take this other medicine. And you say, okay. And I know that that is not the best way to go. So my goal is to help individuals not to do that. So what I did, I readjusted my eating lifestyle. I do not say diet. If you leave the T off of diet, you have die. So think about it. And I had readjusted that, and I actually embarked on assessing my exercise, my movement, which is another phrase I prefer to use, is movement. Now, for my movement, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm up. I do 100 push-ups a day. And I also go ahead and I do some dumbbell exercises. I do some dips. I have a 20-minute workout that resets me for the day, increases my metabolism, builds my muscle, as well as gives me the energy and focus to keep going throughout the day. So even though I was thoroughly exhausted today, I was able to keep the pace that I normally keep. Well, I want to help others to do that. And in fact, I have done so throughout the country and pretty much across the world. I have a meeting with a gentleman who's in Wales as we speak. I'll be meeting with him to continue working with him on his path. And, Wales is good, but bring it home here. Bring it home to the community and helping individuals to do that for themselves. I think is so important. The other thing, too, we all start off knowing what we want to do or wanting to have a dream. What are you going to be when you grow up? And then 10 years, 20 years, 30 years later, we're nowhere near that. But who's to say that now is not the time for you to take a moment and look at your path, going forward. It may take a little longer. It may take a while. But the whole idea is if you get started, you can build the momentum to succeed in your endeavors. And my job in the C.R.U.S.H method, when it comes to forging a path, is to help you to do exactly what that word, how that word is spelled, to conceive and commit, to rewind and to reform, to undertake, to sustain and habituate. Those are the things I do. And again, when someone has a guide, then they can keep going. If you want to, there's a saying, it's an old African saying. It says, if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. If you want to go far, you take someone with you. You see? And so my goal is to be that one that's going to be there with you to get you from point A to point B, right on through the alphabet, so to speak, so that you can crush your mountain. In other words, instead of just climbing it and trying to avoid boulders, you make your tunnel, you see the light at the end of it, and you reach the other side successful, knowing that you can go ahead and handle anything going forward.
That's good. That's good. What's coming to mind is to ask you what inspired you, what made you take control or be active in your health? What made you say, I'm sure this doctor is very intelligent and maybe well-meaning, but that's not the route for me. That's not what I don't want to be on whatever medication or take insulin or what have you. What drove you to say, I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna course correct. This is not my sentence in life. I am going to take control of my health and my life. Talk to us, like what inside of you, or what did you read? Where does that inspiration come from?
Well, it's really interesting because I was always, well, first of all, I started out in the healthcare field years and years ago. I think we talked a little bit about that. But also, I've always been sort of health minded. Okay. With me, I remember one of the initial mountains I had to handle, and that was looking after my parents, my dad in particular, because dad was overweight and he did not take care of himself. And so many Black men do that. They're so used to what we call soul food and traditional foods and good sweet stuff. And we get, instead of being out there playing a sport, we want to watch a sport. It's amazing how many times I hear at the job, they talk about their teams and then, yeah, we won it this week. You weren't playing. You sat back, you sucked on a soda, and you watched it, right? And then what happens? Well, what happened with him, he just got bigger and bigger. The doctor said to him something that stuck in my mind. He said, if you lose the weight, we'll take you off the insulin. They put him on insulin. Well, come to find out, insulin is a growth hormone. It promotes weight gain. How do you do that? But see, the doctors don't have the latest information all the time. They're too busy doing what they do. Very intelligent men. They are very proficient at their craft. But many times, traditional Western medicine does not have the latest information. Your doctors do not necessarily have that. A functional medicine doctor probably would. So what I started doing, I just listened to that. I remember my dad. And ultimately, in September of 1998, he left his home and never came back. He had renal kidney failure and had to be dialyzed for 2 weeks straight before he went into a nursing home. And I said, that's not going to happen to me. And I said to myself, I can't let myself go that route. There are too many people out there. I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses, so I help people. I study the Bible with individuals, and I see both the emotional and spiritual challenges that people face. And so I want to be there for those people. There are people that I was studying the Bible with. I want to be there for those people. There are individuals who have their fatherless boys out there. I want to be there for those fatherless boys. There are boys who have parents, but they still need guidance And I know that when I was a kid, there was always a person who was a little older than I am that gave me the proper guidance and focus. So I said, I need to get myself on track. Okay. Not to mention, I have a gorgeous wife. I'd like to spend some time with her for the next 2,000 years if I can. So all of that, all of that said to me, put into my mind and heart, no, this is a mountain that I am not going to climb. I'm not going to reach a peak and then try to get down the other side. No, I'm going to crush through it. I'm going to do my John Henry, grab a sledgehammer in each hand and just chipping away and keep moving. And I figured that there are others who are like that. There are others who really want to move forward, but they don't necessarily know how. They're used to hearing what the doctors say. Now, a word about that. The doctor wanted to put me on metformin and insulin. I've been hearing some remarkable things about metformin in the longevity areas. That actually strengthens mitochondria and other things. So I said, I'll do the metformin, And besides which, it comes from a lilac. So I'm good with that. But the insulin, no, your body makes insulin. And type 2 diabetes is different from type 1. Type 1, your pancreas stops making insulin, so you need insulin. But now with type 2, that's insulin resistance. And that's the challenge. Your body's making too much. It's a fight between the glucose and the insulin. Your body's not insulin glucose sensitive anymore. So that's where the challenge comes in. So I decided that I was going to take this bull by the horns and handle things and continue to do so. And other individuals started asking me what I was doing. I would give them tips. And I said, well, look, why not take this opportunity to create a service business where I can help individuals move forward and help individuals become healthier, but also help individuals devise their own plan where they want to go in life, and to create perhaps a community where individuals can sit down and work out their goals, work out their outcomes. My idea is this. I'm also the CEO and founder of C.R.U.S.H Transformational Coaching. And my saying is, we're all in the state of becoming. The challenge is to be intentional about your outcome. So think about that for a second. I named it chrysalis coaching for a reason. A chrysalis is that beautiful case that the caterpillar has spun. It goes into, it spins a cocoon, the cocoon hardens, and now that cocoon, that caterpillar is a pupa, and it's forming within that chrysalis. And then it has to struggle to break free. And once it does so, once it can break free, it's able to fly. We are all in a state of constant becoming. Unless you make the determination to forge your outcome, then life happens to you instead of for you, and you may not fly. So that's the long and short of it.
I love that. I love that. To fly. Makes me think about Michelle Obama's book in terms of how it's named Becoming. And then we're all becoming. But
Yeah.
if you haven't clearly defined what that outcome is, it's like, what is that goal? What is that benchmark you want to hit? I'm curious. So prior to doing the work that you're doing now, we had talked offline about your journey in reinventing yourself and that even that process of resetting. What were you doing prior to that, and how have you reinvented yourself, whether that be personally and or professionally throughout your lifetime so far?
Well, after I folks got sick, I actually had to leave school and leave work and look after them. And that took its toll on me emotionally and even mentally to a certain extent. So what I invite people to do is to find a space. Now, for me, that space is really interesting. I went to Jamaica for just a couple of days, and it was such a weird situation. I had to save up all of this money. Actually, I'd worked all this time to make some money. And do you not know that that money was not available to me at the time? I'd already paid for my ticket. I already paid for my hotel stay. And I went to this place with no cash, virtually nothing. But that was probably the best thing for me because it gave me the time to enjoy Jamaica, the natural state, to be in tune with nature itself. I was on the beach and I prayed. I was in my room and I meditated. I sat there on the slopes and I allowed myself the time to really get deep within myself. And that's when I made the first decision to make a change. And after that, things started changing. But of course, individuals who were drawn to me that could help me make that change. One of them was my prospective father-in-law. He's an amazing man, and he helped me out in such a way just by giving me this space to grow.
I have to ask, what did something big precede this? Did something like catastrophic precede you going to Jamaica?
The most catastrophic thing was both of my parents being ill.
Okay.
And so leaving work, having to work at some point, it was working 24/7. I was taking care of them in the morning, working at night, coming home, worrying about who's home with whom, what's going on, and then dealing with some of the psycho-emotional conflicts that were happening, dynamics that was happening there. All those things, I had to sit back and find a space. And I tell everyone that you don't necessarily have to go to Jamaica. If there's a park nearby, you can find a park. But get yourself in an area where you can do that. If you're near a beach, wonderful time, wonderful thing to go to. If you're near the mountains, you see, that's a wonderful space. All those natural spaces. But there you can connect and you can pray and you can think deeply and you can just focus on your connection to its nature, your connection to your surroundings. And that's what I did. And so that was the first challenge, the biggest challenge there. But after that, I decided I didn't want to go back to the healthcare field, or it was a little bit more challenging because I left New York and went down to the South. And the South, it's a little different. You have credentials and sometimes that kind of puts folks off of it. So ultimately, I wound up moving into the manufacturing and shipping and receiving, logistics. So I served in terms of dealing with the raw materials and seeing them come in and distributed evenly, making sure that they were correct, making sure that there was no damage, contacting vendors, contacting others. So that's what I did. But I sat back and I said, this is not me. So
I want to recap. I want to recap and make sure I captured what you're saying that you did to reset. So for you, your parents were very ill, and that was very taxing on you to help take care of them during their health journeys. And your father-in-law supported you while you said you went to Jamaica. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, that was in the future. That was once I decided to leave, so to speak. Like later on, got with this young woman who now has decided to stick with me for another 30 years. We've been married 30 years. But in the course of our engagement, her father-in-law was instrumental. And that's one thing I want to tell people. Find someone that will be in your corner. Find someone that will believe in you. So that's what I did there. Okay. And after that, that was when we got married. When we getting married. But the Jamaica part was long before that, about 4 years before that. I went to Jamaica and I got myself settled. I got to the point where you pray. So what you want to do any individual, take some time for yourself, take some time away from everything, just to think deeply about who you are, where you are, why you are, and what you'd like to do going forward. And you pray about that, understand the morality issues involved, and you move forward from that. I was convinced after that my prayer was answered, that indeed I was not doing anything wrong by seeking my own life and making a change for myself. And that's what I did then. These days, after looking so many years, working so many years in a field that paid the bills very well, but did not pay me here. Okay.
Fulfillment.
Right. It didn't pay me here. That's fulfillment, yes. I had to sit back again. And in this case, there's a lake not far from me. And I went to the lake, especially after I was told about the pre-diabetes, and I sat down again. And I'll never forget that time as I prayed. It was just beautiful to see, become in tune with everything. You see, I saw hummingbirds, I saw little lizards walking by, all these different things. And you feel that oneness with the nature. And I say, the world changes constantly. I am part of that change, but I can decide on where I want to go, where I want to be. And I can help others to do the same.
So I want to make sure I capture that as well. So there was, for our listeners, there was a 20-year plus time frame between your time in Jamaica, where you sat and really had some meditation, and then more recently you sat again and you were reflecting and thinking about what fills me up inside, what feeds my heart. You were paying the bills and you were living, but there still was something missing. So it was over a 20-year gap before you made that transition, that change. Because I think that's, if that's correct, I think that's very important for listeners to hear, how the time frame, how things take time in terms of like settling on, okay, what makes me feel good, what makes me feel like I'm contributing, what am I called to do, what am I purposed to do. So did I understand that correctly?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And bear in mind that change happens. Change is a constant thing with human beings. A person who is set in their ways is ready to die. Understanding is, I know women who became bodybuilders starting at the age of 60, and they're 80 now, and from here down, they look like they're 30. Okay. All right. So it's a matter of who you want to be. What do you want to create? And if you believe that you are in the image of God, you have to understand God is the creator. And therefore we reflect that quality of being able to create. So that's that's creator going forward from that point. I don't know, but we are always in that change. I want to encourage everyone never to sit on their laurels, because if you sit on your laurels, you start to decompose.
That's very true. That's very true. One of the things, again, with our series of Let the Men Talk, I'm asking everyone, and I want to ask you, you said so much in terms of becoming, being intentional, not sitting on your laurels. What's important to you right now in this season, in your life, or in the year of 2022? What is Henry's focus, or what impact do you want to ensure that you have right now?
Two things I want to do. Number one, okay, my goal is to work in the ministry full-time, help others to have an accurate knowledge of the Bible. That's the first thing. So they can make a conscious decision to save themselves and others, okay, from what's coming. Everyone can see that the world is crazy out there. There's a reason for it. Now, you can go to jw.org. I do not own that website, but you can go to jw.org. You'll find a wonderful article about the times we're living in and what you can do to help yourself. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to do is help individuals have a good and healthy aspect, outcome, and outlook. That's so very vital, because too many of us are, again, just allowing ourselves to just sip sodas, which is poison in a bottle. They're allowing us to eat food-like substances, hyper-processed food, not even over-processed, hyper-processed foods. And that affects our minds, that affects our hearts, that affects the communities in which we live in. And here we are in food deserts, many of us, and we can't get anything better. But you can do better. Once you know better, you can do better. My goal is to help individuals to get that type of information and help them to take action to move forward and do better.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Action. So we call it activate the dream. I love it. So before I ask my final question, let everyone know where they can find you online.
Okay, you can go to Crush Your Mountain, Henry Gaskins, Crush Your Mountain on Facebook and Instagram. You can reach me on Instagram. You can go to Hankster OG, Hankster_OG, or you can go to Diabetes Weight Loss. Either one of those are mine. Just look for it, or just type in Henry Gaskins. You will see me there. Say hello at least. Find out what we can do together. If you want to have a chat, I can do a 20-minute call. Doesn't cost anything. I'd rather you learn something for free that can help you than spend the $70,000 on an amputation on your feet or legs, because that's how much it can cost. And I've seen it up close and personal. You yourself was in the healthcare field. You have seen some horrors yourself. It doesn't have to happen if we don't let it. So you reach out to me. I'd love to chat.
Got it. Got it. Henry is everywhere. He is global, everywhere online. So type in his name and you will find him. And our final question is, what is the greatest lesson you've learned in your reset journey?
The greatest lesson I've learned is that first of all, when you put God first, and the Bible says that you put Jehovah God first, everything falls into place. That's the first thing. The second thing I learned is that when you start, then the motivation happens. You cannot say, I'm not motivated, so I can't get started. No, it's when you start walking, that's when the motivation picks up. When the ball starts rolling, and that's how it gathers speed going downhill. So if you want to start, if you want to pick up motion, if you want to be motivated to do, just do, and see how things sort of fall into place.
I love it. That is quite the close. Just do it. Thank you so much, Henry.
My pleasure. Thank you for this time. And I hope your audience has got at least something out of our little discussion.
All right, everyone. Another wonderful conversation. Crush your mountain. Now is the time to take a moment to look at your path going forward. We are all in the state of becoming. The goal is to be intentional about your outcome. For anyone who is listening or watching on YouTube, let us know what resonated with you. We really want to hear from you. Join the conversation. Until next time, remember, a reset is always available to you.